Like even for myself, because like this, look, I'm in South Louisiana, so it's some of the meetings I go to. I am the only black person. I look at that, but it's the love that you feel from the people. Like don't just look for, like even like what they tell you, don't look for the differences, look for the similarities. And it's like you don't want to don't try to fit in because you already stand out. Just listen to what everybody has to say, and see where you can relate to that. And because I'm pretty sure, like you said, you don't know me, but you know me.
I've heard it through the grapevine. Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don. I'm an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hiya, Sam. You been into any meetings lately?
Why? Are you saying I need a meeting?
Well, thank goodness we're going to have one right here because, boy, you need a meeting like nobody I've ever seen. Sam, who is our guest today?
Don, today we're welcoming Trevon T. from Lafayette, Louisiana. And after we get to know him, we'll get a Grapevine Daily quote to discuss. But first, the news. Did you know there are other podcasts by AA, our Primary Purpose podcast by the General Service Office, and Grapevine's weekly open AA meeting podcast?
Our Primary Purpose is the official podcast from GSO, the General Service Office of Alcoholics Anonymous for the U.S. and Canada. Through interviews with staff and voices from AA history and the fellowship today, they explore how GSO supports AA to carry the message of recovery to those who need it most, which is our primary purpose. Search for Our Primary Purpose in your favorite podcast app or visit aa.org/GSO-podcast.
Hi, folks. We need your stories on the individual traditions. Pick one and write about your or your group's experience with it. How has a tradition played a part in your life? How has your understanding of a tradition changed? What is a personal experience where a tradition played a part? Visit aagrapevine.org for guidelines and to submit.
Hello, everybody. I'm Trevon, an alcoholic. Sobriety date is March 13, 2022. I have a home group out here. It's called Primary Purpose. We meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at noon. I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor. I have two people that I'm sponsoring right now. I've taken some guys through the steps. And if you're ever in Lafayette, Louisiana, look up Primary Purpose on the Meeting Guide app and come join us. We're definitely not a glum lot.
Trevon, thank you so much for joining us. It's a wonderful chance to get to know you. We've already been having way too much fun before we pressed record. But I'm kind of imagining that things were not all that fun prior to 2022 when you got sober. What got you started drinking and how did that go?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at each side of the spectrum, my mom suffered from this disease, and while she was pregnant with me, it was full blown. So me being born, I was actually born into it. Born addicted, didn't even know. So growing up, it was a lot of hardships for us, and it was always around me. So it was normalized to me. So I just thought it was the normal thing to do. Once I started drinking, it actually gave me a chance to breathe, believe it or not, from all the chaos that was going on around.
You mean drinking worked for you to make you feel better?
Yeah, it quickly spiraled. Actually, it started doing it before I go to school and everything. And my mom in and out. Dad was there, but Dad and my relationship wasn't where it needed to be due to my mom's, manipulation and how this disease had her going about everyday life. So my dad kind of he moved to Atlanta, and I didn't have any contact with him. Like talking about any contact I had to go through my grandmother, and my grandmother's the lady who raised me. I gave this woman hell. Thank God for grandmothers for
Mm.
sure, and she did the best she could until she couldn't, you know. And but I will always say, growing up, I did have my fundamental knowledge of my higher power. And once things got worse, it was just like I just believe I wasn't worthy of my higher power's love. After I graduated high school, same thing. You know, it was my first stint with jail. I got into some legal troubles, and that persists all throughout my teens and early 20s. And finally, I ended up going to prison in 2004, my first time. Did 4 years in there, you know, and I before I went in, I got a girl pregnant. Son was born while I was in prison, you know, and so I did my 4 years in prison. I get out. I married a girl who had my baby, and I was on parole, and parole was kind of like an insurance policy for me not to go back out, you know. So pretty much I
Yeah.
was white knuckling it. Once I took my last drug screen, that's when I started dabbling again. I went back, and then my old ways of thinking came in, and God had other plans. You know, the day I got off of parole, I was caught the next day. Ended up going back to jail. Wife left me, you know, put me on child support, and it was just like my life started to spiral again. And you know, the bottle was the only thing I knew. It was my default. And finally, a friend of mine told me about a treatment center out here, and I was just so afraid to go because I didn't want to go through detox, you know. And
Okay. You were afraid of the physical consequences of quitting?
absolutely for sure, because I tried to do it on my own in those 8 years, and it did not work out well, you know.
Yeah.
I went into treatment the same mentality. I went into prison. I didn't open the big book. And then they had a COVID outbreak in the treatment facility, and I bolted 3 weeks into it. You know, because at the
Yeah.
time,
And
people were
that
dying during COVID.
Yeah. The
absolutely
beginning.
legitimate
Yeah.
fear during that time. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get out, and in my heart of hearts, I will tell you, I did not want to drink or anything. And I did that. That worked for a little while. You know, it worked for about 3 months. I relapsed. I stayed out for another 3 months. I go back to the same treatment center, and it was like, hey, look, everything that I did before, I'm gonna just do the total opposite. I remember third day in detox. I was in the shower, got on my knees, and I cried, and I was like, God, just have your way with me in this moment.
Mm.
I can't do this no more. I cannot.
That really wasn't a mistake the first time that you went to rehab because you knew that that didn't work.
So I will say, even in there, like I finally opened the big book. I finally started reading it, and it gave me because I tell people when I went to treatment, like I hit my rock bottom, but for me it was a spiritual rock bottom. I was dead spiritually, you know, and that book gave me a lot of hope. I started reading the 12 steps. And those steps, it was like, it was intimidating. I'm gonna be honest with you. Those steps are
Yeah.
very intimidating. My first go at it.
Yeah.
And I got me a sponsor, a temporary sponsor while I was in there. And he took me through 1 through 4. But when I got to 4, I totally balked.
Step 4 is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5 admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs.
So, what was your experience doing it?
I had to have the courage to write those things down, you know. And when I wrote them down and presented it, I had to realize what it said, admitted to myself, to God, myself, and to another human being. So, of course, in me admitting it to God, it was me admitting it to myself. And that was the hardest part. You know,
Yeah.
that was harder than me speaking it out. And as I started working the steps and the principles behind the steps, it gave me a lot more relief. You know, I was out of my kids' lives for 8 years. And when I got to step 8, my ex-wife called me and was like, your son wants to see you. And I can remember something my sponsor said, like, he said, when you get to the amends, he said, God is going to give them to you. I made my amends to my son. I said, son, I was so inconsiderate, so selfish. You know, I was not a good dad to you, you know, and I was like, if there's anything else that I missed out, or if there's anything you need to tell me, like, I'm willing to listen. And he said, Dad, I'll never forget this, man. He said, Dad, he said, I know you were going through some things, but there was nothing that you could have ever done to make me stop loving you. And I was like, oh my God, like I literally, like I was crying so much to where when he hugged me, like I seen the snot kind of like on his shirt, you know.
Yeah.
and,
Oh man.
and it was a great moment because like I always had this fear that the same negative feelings I had for my dad not being there in my life, you know, not knowing what was going on, that my son had those same feelings for me. So I thought it was going to be an uphill battle, you know. Did the same thing to my ex-wife. You know, she said, Trevon, she said, all I need you to do is show up and be consistent. You know, she said, I'm willing to support you through all this as long as you are willing to show up and be consistent. You know, and that's how I make my amends to them, you know, these days. And
How old was your son at that time?
he was 14. He just graduated Thursday.
Ah,
He just graduated this past Thursday, man. You know, and I was there. That's why my voice is kind of hoarse, you know. But showing up and being consistent is how I continue to make those amends to all my kids, you know. And
Beautiful. You're there for him now.
I am, you know. And after I worked those steps, you know, I will say like the relief that I got, and especially when I started working with others, you know, I was able to look life in the eyes, you know, and be okay. Really, it was all about being okay with myself. You know, like that was the biggest thing that I struggled with. And I will say, I had to work the steps again because I wasn't thorough as I should have been, and I knew I wasn't. I've been going through some counseling, and I didn't put my mom on my fourth step, you know, because I had the biggest resentment against her. It was a question that my counselor had asked me. It was like, you know, Trevon, what if your mother can't ever give you what you're looking for? And I had to think about that. The same thing that I was doing to my kids, you know, was done to me. So who am I to not at least give this lady some grace like my kids gave me?
my sponsor, my current sponsor, has noted several times that, but we do the best that we can at the time.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say when you did your first, fourth, and fifth step, or run through the steps. You know, you did the best you could at the time,
I was
and
thinking
then
of peeling
got
the
some
onion.
change. Yeah, peeling the onion,
Yeah,
and then the steps work on us. This program
Yeah.
yeah.
works on us,
Yeah.
and then
And you got to go
doing them
deeper.
again, able to go deeper. Exactly.
You know, we hear these things in the book, you know, so much. And no matter how many times you read it, it's kind of like something else just pops out at you know, in
Always.
that time. Because man, we used to always read how it works, you know, and every meeting you hear it, you know. But when I first, even with that hope that you talk about, and I heard that how it works in that moment, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path.
Uh-huh.
Rarely. That is a bold statement, you know. And it was
Hmm.
just like, and I can remember my sponsor was like, "Hey, man, look, if you try this out for 6 months, if it don't work for you, you could always go back out there." He said, "But really try it out. Really try it out."
Yeah.
You know, and man, look, it's been 4 years and some change, and look.
Yeah. Well, what is your recovery like today? How do you stay sober in a week?
Okay. Oh, in
What's
a
a
week.
week like? Yeah, what's a week like for you?
One day at a time for sure. But
Thank
Yeah.
you. I knew that was coming.
Yeah. I'm glad you went there, but I know you must have a schedule of meetings.
I do. Like I said, my home group didn't meet Monday through Friday. I go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Uh-huh.
I still work in treatment, but I know not to make my. Of course, I can't make my job my recovery. You know, I sponsor two guys at a time because I work two full-time jobs. You know, and being of service is definitely a big thing for me also. You know, when I wake up, I pray and I meditate, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. You know, I pray for a long time, but I'll meditate for like 5 minutes. You know, even as I'm driving, I'm kind of like in my own zone with that. You know, I definitely have to have my armor set up before I go to work. I'm on advisory for our state conference for the young people. I'm the tech chair for that one, you know. But it's I go to a lot of young people conferences. That helps me out a lot. The fellowship. I'm committed to that one for 5 years.
Now
Being on
that's a
advisory.
commitment.
What what's something that you took away from that you'll always have with you?
Oh man, first conference I went to. This was probably 3 weeks out of treatment. I meet a girl, man, and she's like, at the time she was 27. And I asked, I was like, well, how long you been sober? She said 13 years. And I was like, what? blew my
Yeah.
mind.
Yes.
Blew my mind, man. And talk about hope, though. Talk about hope.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this girl got sober young. Like, ain't no way.
And I'm
But
I'm taking
yes,
it that she was not a glum lot.
no, not at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
so 13 years sober and she's loving life? That's
She's
not
like, yeah.
right.
Because right now I'm about to do a BIPOC recovery panel that I'm
Okay.
hosting, and I try to, when they do announcements, I try to do the announcements in that meeting, and it was like, that's an outside issue, and I'm like, how is BIPOC an outside issue? It confused me. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I've
Yeah.
spoken on these panels at conferences before, and it was just like, and I actually went to talk to the guy after the meeting, and I was like, it's Black Indigenous people of color. I was like, it's not just for Black Indigenous people of color. We trying to let the community know how we navigate recovery through a BIPOC lens,
Hmm.
and when I speak on these panels, I'll tell you, it's a lot. It's all white folks in the audience because they want the education behind what it's like,
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
guy was like, well, how about you try NA? And I was like.
Oh God.
I was like, what?
Something to try on. I don't even. It's bound to still be available, but look for the workshops that were available for the international conference in Vancouver. There was a BIPOC workshop, at least one
I'm
at
sure.
that,
Yeah.
and that right there is like, look, the International AA Convention had
That
a workshop on this.
that's all off.
It's a shame that you got to
Yeah.
do that kind of thing.
Yes. But
I
that's the
know, I know.
education
But
that you are doing.
I'm so glad white
Yeah,
people are
Thank
showing
you.
up for it.
Yeah.
me too.
We
Yeah.
need
Me
to.
too. I'm gonna be honest. Like I love it because the questions that they ask, I could tell they would probably want to ask those questions, but don't they think they're being offensive.
Yeah.
So it's just like it gives them that safe space to ask those questions,
Yeah.
without it coming off as offensive, and look, I'm all about equality. That is something that I strive for, which is kind of why I'm doing this panel because we have some Native Americans out here,
Hmm.
and it's not too many. Like he's trying to bring the education as far as AA goes to the reservation,
Hmm.
But for him to come into the rooms out here, he's probably the only Native American in the rooms,
Yeah.
So I like it's going to educate me also from his aspect, So
Yeah.
it's full circle.
What do you say to somebody coming in who's different race than everyone else and that feeling of isolation?
Oh, like even for myself, because like this, look, I'm in South Louisiana, so it's some of the meetings I go to, I am the only black person, and I
Mhm.
and I look at that, but it's the love that you feel from the people, like even like what they tell you, don't look for the differences, look for the similarities. Don't try to fit in because you already stand out. Just listen to what everybody has to say, and see where you can relate to that, and because I'm pretty sure, like you said, you don't know me, but you know me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like I forgot the quote in the book where it says, we are normally people who would mix,
Who
That's
would
it.
not mix?
but,
Yeah.
but we're not mixed, So, but we're all seeking the same solution, and we help each other, and I mean that's pretty much the gist of it though, for especially for myself, because I mean I tell you like all of the guys that I hang out with, I mean I'm usually the only black guy, except when I go to the conferences.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh man.
Trevon, you were talking about sponsorship a little bit, and you're sponsoring people and such, and we have a daily quote that touches on this.
Folks, you can sign up to receive daily quotes at aagrapevine.org and they'll be delivered to your email inbox. Or get the app. Get the app, and read them every day in the Grapevine app. Don loves this one.
Okay, this is from the June 1991 issue, The Gift of Time, and it's reprinted in the book, In Our Own Words, Stories of Young AAs in Recovery. I was told that sometimes a good sponsor disturbs the comfortable and comforts the disturbed.
Okay, I love that one too. First of all, I'm going to say apparently you're a good sponsor, Don, even though you're not mine, because you absolutely disturb me.
That's good. That's what I'm trying to do.
What does that mean to you, Don?
I need someone who's not me looking at what I'm doing and being willing to challenge it. I heard one time that I was told this. I had a sponsee and I was talking to an old timer in AA, and she said, you're a sponsor. You're not there to be a friend. You're there to save his life.
Trevon, what does this mean to you?
Oh man, disturbs the comfortable. When I was hurting, my sponsors showed me a little compassion. When I got complacent, then he told me a truth that I did not want to hear. So it was, and it's always hard to hear those truths, but it punches you in the gut at first, but then when you reflect on it, it was like, see it. And sometimes I have to do a little bit of work after that.
In addition to what y'all both said, because everything that y'all said is like right there for me too. But a story that I read a long time ago, and I've shared a handful of times, that I just love, is about a guy who stopped going to meetings. And it was a winter night, and his sponsor came and knocked on his door. And the sponsee opened the door, and the sponsor didn't say anything, but the sponsee invited him in, and they sat down in front of the fireplace and just sat there watching the fire. And then the sponsor took the poker and slid a coal out from under the fire grate out onto the hearth. And they watched that coal slowly stop glowing. And then he pushed the coal back into the fire, and it started glowing again. And then, as he got up to leave, the sponsee said, "I'll see you in the meeting tomorrow." Trevon, there was something else that you mentioned, that your work can't be your program. Something like that. And that is one of those things that I think is just so important, because there are a lot of us that do work in recovery when we get sober in some way, shape, or form. And while, sitting here right now working with you, this is absolutely adding to my recovery. But this does not count as a meeting for me.
Yeah, not for us.
Yeah. Right, I've still got my own program, my fellowship here at home that I am a part of and that I need to remain active in. I can't let my work take the place of my recovery.
Right. And I kind of explain that to the people that I've had some people that I work with now that came through our treatment center and now is working for our treatment center. So what I do is when people come there, if they're in detox, I see them every morning. I go sit in there with them. I talk to them. If you need something, let me know. But trust me when I say, I know how you feeling right now. I know exactly how you feeling right now. So although me helping that person get there, it doesn't help me as far as my recovery goes, but it helps me as far as internally. It makes me I know I'm a better person by doing this. The only bad part is I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
But
it's good. But that's good.
But yeah. For me, my moral compass, it's I add to it, by doing that, and it does make me, it makes me a better person.
It's like the recipe for a cake. If you follow the recipe for a cake, then you get a cake. Well, my program and my fellowship here is the cake.
Yeah.
But then doing things like this gives me some icing on my cake.
Yeah, a little icing on it. Put a little whipped cream on the top. Trevon, you got a last thought?
No, I don't. I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I want to thank you guys for hearing me out. It's been great. I'm just so blessed to be in a position today where I could get somebody to actually hey, what you feel about speaking on the AA Grapevine podcast? and y'all said something earlier and it made me laugh a lot because at the conferences, we have the Grapevine that comes represent, and there's download the app and all you app.
Yes, absolutely.
like I said when I was telling y'all earlier, like I was a product of my environment then, I'm still a product of my environment now, you know, in today's world, you know. So yeah, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed.
Oh, man. I am so happy we got to have this conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
Scrolling through my phone, bored out my mind. Then I see that purple logo. Yeah, that Grapevine. Group chat tired, memes all stale.
I'm Elaine, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm from here in South Dakota. I subscribe to the Grapevine, and I have the app because, I love the stories in there. And we also, at one of our meetings, we do a Grapevine story every week. And that has turned out to be one of the meetings that the newcomers really enjoy. And there's such deep sharing in that. And it's a great way of carrying the message.
Subscriptions to Grapevine Magazine are available in print or in the app.
Download the app and subscribe today. Only $2.99 a month.
$3 a month? Come on.
Your weekend's ruined, but you'll laugh through it. Funny little roast of us drinking too much, spilling our hearts over sharing that brunch. We clown ourselves, that's part of this scene. Tipsy and honest, pages all clean. Grapevine, get the app. One hit, now you back. Don't miss out while you.
I'm at the very wit's end. The doctor read the test results and told the patient, I have bad news. You're an alcoholic, and your drinking has damaged your memory.
My memory, huh? Well, it could be worse. I could be an alcoholic.
It's really not that funny.
Thank you for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole, but we do share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about Alcoholics Anonymous, visit aa.org or search Alcoholics Anonymous in your city.
App.
Still got the mag in your lap. Print page with the sass. Get that subscription, stack. Grapevine, yeah, we back. From the couch to the bar stool, we all act a fool, but we read it, then we see it. Okay, that's me too. We toast to the chaos, laugh through the crack-ups. Cosmic in the back, keeping all of us cracked up. Grapevine, get the